All right, welcome to chapters 5 and 6. We are going to read these and then you're going to answer some questions. You guys have been doing a beautiful job on those. Remember to restate the question, okay? Follow along with me, and here we go. Chapter 5. John hung up his coat, got his notebook and pencil out of his locker, and sat down at his small table just in time for the second bell, when Miss Pimsole walked silently into the classroom. As soon as she appeared in the doorway, all the chattering and scuffing stopped. The 20 boys and girls sat straight in their chairs and looked straight ahead at the clean blackboard. "Good morning, children," Miss Pimsole said. "Good morning, Miss Pimsole," the class answered respectfully. Miss Pimsole sat at her high desk, blinking her eyes as she surveyed the room. Then she opened a little drawer in her desk and pulled out a spectacles case from which she took her reading glasses. She removed her long distance glasses, put on her short distance glasses, snapped shut the spectacles case, replaced it in the drawer, shut the drawer, tilted her head forward so that she could look over the glasses on her nose, and said, "This morning, children, we are going to have an important test." There were some groans and a few oohs and ahs. Miss Pimsole lifted up one of her hands, and silence was restored instantly. "No complaining, please," she said sternly. "This test will show me how well you've been learning your arithmetic this year. It will be a short one. I'm going to write just 4 problems on the board. I shall expect you to solve them all swiftly and accurately, and to write your answers neatly. You will place your paper in front of you now. You will write your name at the top right-hand corner, and then you will place your pencil beside your paper. Sit back in your chair and wait until I give the signal to begin work." Miss Pimsole turned to the blackboard and began chalking up the test problem. Tess always made John nervous. Besides, his lips were feeling dry and the taste of chocolate was strong in his mouth. He raised his hand. "Yes, John?" Miss Pimsole asked. "May I, please may I go to the drink I'm sorry. Please may I go and get a drink of water, please, Miss Pimsole?" he asked in a small voice. "Very well. Hurry back. We're going to start in a few minutes." John gratefully slipped out of the room and walked down the, the quiet corridor to the water fountain. His tongue felt thick with chocolate. The cold water would be refreshing. He pressed his foot down on the fountain treadle, and a stream of clear ice water spurted up from the silver nozzle in a white enamel basin. He lowered his head until the jet of water reached his lips. The cold water splashed delightfully against the outside of his mouth. He opened his lips, and as soon as the water gushed in, it turned into ice cold chocolate water, thin and sweet. Quickly stopping the flow, John looked with dismay at the shallow puddle that had formed and was now draining away in the basin of the fountain. He hurried to another fountain on the second floor of the building, but there was the same thing happened. The clear, ice-cold water turned to liquid chocolate in his mouth. When John finally got back to his classroom, all of the other pupils were bent over their tables, busily scratching away. Miss Pimsole looked up from her book as John tiptoed in. She looked at the clock on the wall and looked back at him, and wagged her finger reprovingly. John began on the first of the 4 problems, but he was so worried about the chocolate water that he couldn't keep his mind on his work. By the time he was ready to start the 4th problem, the other boys and girls were already putting down their pencils and straightening up and smiling at each other. "2 minutes to go," said Miss Pimsole. Concentrating hard, John took the end of his pencil between his teeth and began to nibble it. It immediately turned to chocolate. Then he noticed an even more disturbing change. Although he had taken the pencil out of his mouth, and as soon as the first piece of chocolate had crumbled off, the pencil was continuing to change to chocolate. The chocolate was slowly but steadily moving down the pencil, replacing the wood and the lead inside, changing it into a chocolate pencil before John's very eyes. The magic, for John now knew that his power must be magic, was apparently getting stronger. By the time the whole pencil had changed from red, yellow, and black to dark brown, Miss Pimsole was announcing that only a few seconds remained in which to write down the final answer. "Just a minute," John pleaded. "Shh!" Miss Pimsole cautioned him. holding up a finger to her mouth. Shh, chorused the slow workers, who were becoming almost as excited as John, but John felt worst of all. He felt sure that he couldn't finish the problem and write down the correct answer, if only he had something to write with. But Miss Pimsel, he begged in a loud whisper, my pencil's turned to chocolate. Hush, John, Miss Pimsel said. I'll speak to you after the bell. John tried to write but his pencil with his changed pencil, but the point was too soft, and he only succeeded in making a chocolate smear where he should have written 72. Oh no, that's crazy. I'm telling you right now, boys and girls, if you were to say, Miss Burnett, my pencil turned to chocolate, I'd go, lies! I would not believe you. There's no way I would believe you. So it's probably pretty hard for her to believe him too. All right, here we go. Chapter 6. When the others had been excused to go out for mid-morning play, John had to go and stand by Miss Pimsel's desk. John, Miss Pimsel said, you mustn't make up silly stories to excuse your failures. I must have the truth. What did you do with your pencil? This is it, John said, showing Miss Pimsel the pointed stick of chocolate. Really, it is. It's changed. What do you mean it's changed? Miss Pimsel demanded. That's my pencil, John tried to explain. Only it isn't the same anymore. Nothing stays the same today if I put it into my mouth. The same thing happened when I chewed my gloves. They were chocolate too. John, said Miss Pencil slowly, do you feel all right? Yes, thank you, John said. I feel all right, except, he added, I'm getting so thirsty. The water from the water fountain turned to chocolate, and so did the water upstairs. I would like a drink of cold water. Yes, John, Miss Pencil said, and she suddenly looked pale. You run out and play with the others. I'm going to have a talk with the nurse. And John, Miss Pimsel said as he started towards the classroom door, here's another pencil. Be a good boy and try not to lose it. I'm afraid I'll have to keep this piece of chocolate till school's out. You know we don't allow anyone to eat candy in class. Miss Pimsel put the slightly chewed chocolate pencil in her desk drawer, and John went out to look for Susan. He found her skipping rope with two girls in his class. John usually scorned skipping rope. He preferred hide and seek, tag, FBI, and spies, kick the can, or any other good, exciting game. Jumping up and down in one place just to avoid being hit by a rope seemed silly to him. But he was sorry for having spoiled Susan's silver dollar, and he was willing to make a sacrifice. Susan, he said. Susan continued to balance on one foot as her two friends swung the rope over and under, over and under, over and under her, and she didn't seem to notice John. I'll skip with you, he offered. Susan stopped, and the rope was caught by her shins. Let's try doubles backwards, she said, but not to John. She ignored John. You go first, Betty. Ellen, you go second, and I'll go last. The one who does it the most times gets the first slice of my birthday cake. Susan looked at John, raised her eyebrows and shut her eyes, and stuck out the tip of her pink tongue. Then she turned back to the girls and smiled. Ellen whispered in Betty's ear, and Betty whispered in Susan's ear. Then all three of them looked at John and each other again and burst out laughing. Oh, Susan, John protested. I didn't mean to do it. The trouble is there's something magic about me today. Everything I put in my mouth turns to chocolate. The girls giggled. You wouldn't like it, said John, who was beginning to feel sorrier for himself than he had ever felt before. I think it's getting worse, he added reproachfully. At first, just the part of my mouth turned into chocolate, but when I nibbled on the end of my pencil, the whole pencil changed. Pooh, Susan said. The others hooted it with glee. Maybe I'll get sick and die, John warned. Maybe I'll turn to chocolate myself, then you'll be sorry. I don't believe one word about that chocolate, Susan said. And if it was true, you'd be glad because all you ever like eating is chocolate. If you don't believe me, John retorted, just you just you give me that skipping rope and I'll prove it. How's he gonna prove it? The girls looked questioningly at each other for an instant, but as they hesitated, the bell rang and it was time to go back into the classroom. The rest of the morning passed slowly for John. He was afraid that his mother was going to be cross about the missing gloves. She might not accept the excuse that he had eaten them. He regretted his messed up arithmetic test, and he was sad about Susan's anger and disbelief. He was getting terribly thirsty, once during geography and once during art when he was excused to get a drink of water. Both times, however, he swallowed nothing but sweet chocolate. His mouth was getting stickier and sweeter and drier by the minute. Oh, stop right there. Okay, guys, if you need anything, don't hesitate to get a hold of me. I love you, and we will talk soon. Bye.